So now let's demonstrate how to create a project for the purpose of testing existing Java source code programs. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK to dismiss that dialog. And you can create a project through the File menu by selecting New Project. You can also click the New Project icon on the toolbar. You can also right-click in this Projects tab and select New Project, as I just did. Now, depending on which version of NetBeans you have installed, you may have additional categories of types of projects that you can select from. And for basic Java applications like the ones we demonstrate throughout most of Java How to Program, Java SE8 for Programmers, and our Java Live Lessons videos, the category Java and the specific project type Java application are all you will need. So I'm going to go ahead and select that here and click Next. And you can then specify the name of the project. You can specify where the project will be stored. And you can also specify whether or not you want the IDE to create what's known as a main class. If you're creating a program from scratch, by checking this checkbox, it will create a class that contains a main method, which is the launch point for the application. If you're not creating an application from scratch, but rather dragging in existing source code for testing, then you don't need to check this option. So let's say we create a welcome test project just for argument's sake, and we'll go ahead and click Finish. So it now defines a new project called Welcome Test. The source packages folder is where your source code will be placed, and for our examples, all you need to do for testing purposes is drag them onto this default package node, and then you'll be able to open the code in the IDE and run the code and see the output, for example. So to start, let's do a single source file program. Go ahead to your file system on whichever platform you're running, locate the source code examples for our book or videos, and in the ch02 folder, go ahead and select the welcome1.java source code file from the fig02_01 folder. All you have to do is then drag that onto the default package node, and you will see that the code is now incorporated into the project. And if I double click that, I can look at the source code in the IDE. Notice that the IDE syntax colors the code. That helps you understand what each word in the code represents. You can see that comments are displayed in gray, so you can kind of scan through them and ignore them if you want, but you can also read them if you need to. Keywords appear in blue. Literal values appear in this kind of yellowish orange color. Static objects appear in green italic, and there are other settings as well for different language elements, and you can actually control all those colors as well through the options dialog that we demonstrated to you earlier. Now, if you want to run the program, all you need to do is click the Run Project button. And when you do that, if it doesn't know the name of the class that contains main, it will ask you to select that one. And that could be the case if you have a multi-source file program as well. In this case, there's only one file, so we'll just select welcome1, which is the class that contains the main method, and that's the starting point for this program. When you click OK, it will go ahead and build the application and execute it, and you can see the output showing up down here in the output window. So that's a simple single source file program. When you have a multi-source file program, you need to incorporate all of the source code files into the project in order for the IDE to compile the source code files correctly and be able to run the program. So if you want to test another program, you have a couple of options. You could close the project that you already created, which is available. Well, first, let me select it. So you can close the project that you already created. You can also simply remove the .java file from this project so that you can then drag in additional .java files. So let me right-click here and select Delete. If you want, you can check off Safely Delete, and it will make sure that it permanently deletes that from the system. I'm not going to do that. Next, let's go back out to our source code programs and let's go to chapter 3 folder and the first example there, which has 2 source code files, and simply drag those into the IDE. And as you can see, both of them now appear. We can open up the source code and take a look at it for each of the different files. Notice that account test is the one that contains the main method in this example. And again, you can run the project by just clicking the play button. It figures out that there's only one file right now in the project that contains main. If there were multiple such files, it would ask you and show you the list of all the classes that have a main method. When I run this, it's displaying for me the beginning of the program's output. You can see it's asking me to interact with the program right now. It's waiting for my input. So it says, please enter the name. Let me go ahead and type Paul. And when I hit enter, it then displays the rest of the output. And the build successful is the indication that it was able to compile the program successfully as well. Now, the IDE is smart and it will tell you when you have problems in your code. So for example, I just deleted a semicolon at the end of line 10 and it immediately gave me an error message, which if I hover over the red squiggly line will display what that message is. Notice it also says you can type, in this case, Alt-Enter to show hints as to what the problem might be. So as you work with the IDE, you'll see various things pop up on the screen to help you with your programming as you move along. So let me go ahead and put that semicolon back in, and now the error message goes away. So it's dynamically compiling the code in the background while you're writing it, and that means as you write your statements, you may get error messages even though you're not done entering a particular statement. So if you know you're not done entering the statement, you can ignore those until you complete your statement. If you then still have error messages, you can hover over the red squiggly lines to see what you might have done wrong and then go ahead and fix the problem.